What if the greatest movies of the 1960s are not the ones Hollywood keeps selling you? These films trapped people underground, replaced their faces, invaded their minds, and exposed respectable society as a carefully staged performance. Some disappeared because they failed. Others disappeared because they told the truth too clearly. Before we uncover these forgotten treasures, like the video, share it with another classic film fan, and subscribe to the channel. Number 17. The Night Walker, 1964. Dreams become evidence in this mystery, starring Barbara Stanwyck as Irene Trent, the unhappy wife of a wealthy and intensely jealous blind man. Her husband believes she meets a secret lover while sleeping. After an explosion apparently ends his life, Irene begins encountering the charming man she previously saw only in dreams. Robert Taylor plays Barry Moreland, the family lawyer who tries to separate truth from imagination. Irene follows her mysterious lover through empty streets, shadowy apartments, and rooms that seem designed by someone remembering reality incorrectly. The film's unforgettable scene is a wedding attended by silent mannequins. Their frozen faces turn a romantic fantasy into a ceremony of accusation. Screenwriter Robert Bloch built the story around the fear of losing the ability to distinguish dreams from waking life. Stanwyck plays Irene as frightened but intelligent, making every new vision feel like another piece of a puzzle rather than random horror. The final explanation is grounded in human greed, yet the dream sequences remain more powerful than the solution. They suggest that once fear controls the imagination, ordinary rooms can become traps. Barbara Stanwyck had spent decades playing women who could outthink criminals, businessmen, and dishonest lovers. That history makes her confusion here especially effective. The audience expects control, yet the film repeatedly removes it from her. Doors open into impossible places. A familiar voice becomes threatening. Even love appears rehearsed. Rather than depending on graphic images, the movie turns artificial smiles and perfect manners into signs that something is terribly wrong. Number 16. The Sorcerers, 1967. Scientific curiosity creates a new form of temptation when elderly Professor Marcus Montserrat invents a machine that allows him and his wife to control another person through hypnosis. Boris Karloff plays Marcus with tired dignity, while Catherine Lacey gives the more dangerous performance as Estelle, a woman intoxicated by borrowed youth. Their subject is Mike, a bored young man searching for excitement in swinging London. Once connected to him, the couple can feel everything he feels and influence everything he does. Marcus wants to prove his invention can benefit humanity. Estelle wants speed, pleasure, power, and increasingly reckless experiences. The most unsettling scenes show the elderly couple reacting physically, while Mike carries out their commands elsewhere. His body becomes their vehicle. Every thrill he experiences passes into their living room, where ordinary furniture surrounds two people behaving as though they have escaped age itself. Directed by Michael Reeves, the film uses science fiction to expose addiction to control. Karloff's sorrowful face becomes the moral center as Marcus realizes that discovery without restraint has transformed his home into a laboratory of cruelty. The story arrived during a decade fascinated by youth culture. Fashion, music, and rebellion seem to belong to a new generation, while older authority figures watched from outside. This film turns that tension into horror. Estelle does not merely envy youth, she enters it, operates it, and refuses to surrender it. Mike believes he is independent, yet unseen hands direct his choices. The movie's real monster is the desire to experience everything without accepting any responsibility. Number 15. The Power, 1968. A group of scientists testing human endurance discovers that someone among them possesses extraordinary mental ability. The first demonstration seems harmless. A sheet of paper spins without being touched. Soon, members of the research team begin dying in incidents that appear impossible to arrange. George Hamilton plays Jim Tanner, the scientist forced to investigate his colleagues while questioning his own memories. Every person could be the mysterious Adam Hart, a mind powerful enough to influence objects, people, and perception. The film moves from laboratories to empty streets, strange attractions, and increasingly dreamlike confrontations. One famous sequence places Tanner beneath a rapidly spinning amusement park ride as invisible force threatens to crush him. Another turns an ordinary room into a battlefield where objects move without human hands. The visual effects are modest, but the attacks feel personal, because the enemy may already know what Tanner will do. The final revelation complicates the mystery by connecting Tanner himself to the power he fears. Instead of a simple creature feature, the movie asks what happens when human evolution produces someone who no longer needs to obey physical rules or ordinary morality. Most forgotten science fiction films explain their danger through machines or visitors from space. This one turns inward. The threat is human potential developing faster than human character. That idea gives the picture an unusual tension. Tanner is not merely running from a powerful enemy, he is running toward information about himself. Every clue removes another piece of certainty, until science, identity, and paranoia become impossible to separate. Number 14, The 10th Victim, 1965. Long before televised survival contests became familiar, this Italian science fiction satire imagined a future where governments control aggression through an international hunting game. Participants alternate between hunter and victim, survive 10 rounds, and fame, money, and sponsorship deals await. Ursula Andress plays Caroline Meredith, an experienced hunter assigned to eliminate Marcello Poletti, played by Marcello Mastroianni. Caroline wants the event filmed beside Rome's Temple of Venus for a television commercial. Marcello knows he is being hunted, but he is uncertain which glamorous stranger has been sent to end his run. The most famous moment arrives early when Caroline uses a weapon hidden inside her costume during a nightclub confrontation. It is outrageous, stylish, and deliberately commercial, announcing a world where danger has become advertising. As Caroline and Marcello circle each other, attraction complicates the assignment. Their romance may be real, another strategy, or both at once. Bright costumes and futuristic architecture hide a cynical idea. Society has not eliminated violence. It has branded it, scheduled it, and found sponsors willing to place their products beside it. The film looks playful, yet its joke has only become sharper. Public danger is staged for cameras. Contestants think about ratings while protecting themselves. Personal identity becomes a marketable role, and even romance may be promotional material. Rather than predicting one specific television program, the movie predicts a culture in which reality is valuable only after it has been packaged as entertainment. Its cheerful surface makes that accusation more uncomfortable. Number 13, Robinson Crusoe on Mars, 1964. Survival begins with a single astronaut searching for air. After an emergency forces his spacecraft down, Commander Kit Draper becomes stranded on Mars with limited oxygen, almost no supplies, and only a monkey named Mona for companionship. Instead of rushing immediately into alien battles, the film watches Draper solve practical problems. He finds rocks that release oxygen when heated, searches caves for protection, and learns how to obtain water. These careful details make Mars feel like a genuine environment, rather than a painted backdrop. The story changes when Draper discovers another stranded being whom he names Friday. Friday is escaping alien captors who use flying ships and enslaved workers. The two men cannot initially understand each other, yet survival slowly creates a shared language. A memorable sequence shows burning alien vessels moving across the Martian sky while Draper and Friday attempt to escape through the hostile landscape. The effects belong to the 1960s, but the loneliness still works. This forgotten adventure is not really about conquering Mars. It is about the moment when another living voice becomes more valuable than food, technology, or pride. Its title sounds like a cheap novelty, which may explain why many viewers ignored it. Yet the film treats isolation with surprising patience. Long stretches belong to Draper's breathing, movement, and problem-solving. When Friday finally appears, companionship feels earned because the audience has experienced the silence with Draper. The movie remembers something many expensive space adventures forget. A new planet is not exciting only because of what attacks you. It is exciting because every basic act becomes uncertain. Number 12, The Skull, 1965. Collectors often claim they preserve history, but this gothic mystery asks whether some objects should remain buried. Peter Cushing plays Dr. Christopher Maitland, a respected writer and collector offered what is supposedly the stolen skull of the Marquis de Sade. Christopher Lee appears as Sir Matthew Phillips, the skull's previous owner, who warns Maitland that it exerts a terrible influence. Maitland believes himself too rational to be controlled by an object. That confidence slowly disappears as nightmares, violent impulses, and unexplained events invade his home. Director Freddie Francis repeatedly photographs scenes through the empty eye sockets of the skull. The audience watches Maitland as though the object itself is studying him. In the most memorable passages, the skull seems to float through dark rooms while doors open and objects move around it. The story never needs to turn the skull into a talking creature. Its power lies in suggestion. Maitland's obsession may be supernatural, psychological, or an excuse for desires he already carried. The film understands that collectors do not merely own objects. Sometimes the object becomes the center of the owner's identity. Peter Cushing usually brings intelligence and sympathy to characters surrounded by impossible events. Here, that intelligence becomes part of the danger. Maitland keeps examining the evidence because examination allows him to remain close to the skull. Every attempt to understand it strengthens the relationship. The movie turns scholarship into temptation and curiosity into a locked door that the hero continues opening, even after he knows what may be waiting behind it. Number 11. The Nanny, 1965. Nobody believes young Joey Fane when he says the family nanny is dangerous. He has just returned from an institution after being blamed for the bathtub death of his younger sister, so every angry reaction appears to confirm that he is unstable. Bette Davis plays the unnamed nanny with quiet authority. She prepares meals, manages the household, and presents herself as the only adult capable of controlling Joey. Yet he refuses to eat her food, avoids being alone with her, and creates warning systems around his bedroom. The bathtub becomes the movie's central image. Flashbacks slowly reveal what happened to Joey's sister, while a cruel prank involving a doll forces hidden memories back into the room. The sequence is frightening because water, soap, and ordinary childcare routines become evidence. Davis avoids turning the character into a theatrical villain. Her calm voice makes every denial more believable to the family and more frustrating to Joey. The mystery is not simply whether the nanny is guilty. It is whether a child can survive when adults decide his fear is only bad behavior. The film appeared after Davis had successfully reinvented herself through darker roles, but this performance is more restrained than audiences may expect. She does not need elaborate makeup or constant shouting. The nanny's power comes from trust built over years. She knows the family's habits, weaknesses, and private grief. Joey has the truth but no authority. She has authority and controls the truth. That imbalance drives nearly every scene. Number 10. These Are the Damned, 1962. What begins like a story about violent young troublemakers suddenly opens into science fiction tragedy. An American visitor becomes involved with Joan, whose controlling brother King leads a gang through the coastal streets. Their conflict drives the characters toward caves beneath a restricted military area. Inside, they discover children living in secret classrooms. The children appear healthy, intelligent, and emotionally starved. They have been isolated because their bodies are naturally radioactive. Government scientists believe these children may survive the nuclear catastrophe adults have decided is inevitable. The most haunting scenes show the children reaching toward visitors through barriers, desperate for ordinary human contact. They have been educated for a future they never chose and denied the present everyone else takes for granted. Even attempted rescue cannot defeat the system surrounding them. Military authority closes in, exposure weakens the outsiders, and the children are left calling from their cliffside prison. The movie begins with street violence but ends by accusing respectable institutions of something colder, sacrificing children in the name of a future created by adult fear. This sudden change of genre is exactly what makes the film memorable. The early gang scenes seem almost disconnected until the secret facility reveals a larger pattern. King controls Joan because he believes protection gives him ownership. The scientists control the children for the same reason. Both forms of authority claim necessity. Both remove freedom. By connecting personal domination with government planning, the film transforms a coastal thriller into a bleak warning about power. Number 9. The Quiller Memorandum, 1966. Forget exploding pens and glamorous casinos. This spy story enters West Berlin through empty streets, cautious conversations, and the knowledge that two agents have already failed. Quiller, an American working with British intelligence, is ordered to locate the headquarters of a hidden extremist organization. George Segal plays him as intelligent but deliberately casual. Alec Guinness is Pole, his controlled superior, while Max von Sydow makes the organization's leader, October, frightening through politeness rather than noise. Quiller carries no weapon and receives little useful guidance. His mission depends on letting the enemy notice him without allowing them to understand him. That dangerous strategy leads to the movie's most famous passage. Quiller is captured, drugged, questioned, and dumped near a canal. October does not rant. He speaks gently, creating the impression that resistance is merely an inconvenience. Later, Quiller is forced into another confined confrontation where a vehicle and a closing gate become tools of pressure. The romance with schoolteacher Inga appears to offer warmth, but even she may be connected to the network he is investigating. Harold Pinter's screenplay leaves pauses where another spy film would place explanations. People rarely say what they mean, and silence becomes a second interrogation. The final moments refuse complete victory. Quiller may have damaged the organization, yet its influence remains inside ordinary schools, homes, and respectable conversations. The enemy is not hiding in a volcano. It is waiting behind familiar doors. After the colorful spies who dominated the decade, this film feels almost aggressively plain. That plainness is its weapon. Quiller wears ordinary clothes. Meetings happen in offices instead of secret fortresses. Betrayal does not arrive with dramatic music. It sits quietly across the table. The result resembles real political fear more than heroic fantasy. Everyone knows part of the truth, but nobody is willing to reveal how much. Number 8. Cash on Demand, 1961. Christmas decorations hang inside a small British bank, but manager Harry Fordyce has little interest in seasonal kindness. Played by Peter Cushing, he is strict, cold, and obsessed with rules. His employees fear him long before a stranger arrives claiming to inspect the bank's security. The visitor introduces himself as Colonel Gore Hepburn. Andre Morel plays him with effortless charm, slowly taking control of Fordyce's office before revealing the truth. Fordyce's wife and child are supposedly being held, and unless he helps remove money from the vault, they will suffer. Most of the film unfolds through conversation. Hepburn does not need a gang crashing through windows. He studies Fordyce, anticipates his objections, and uses the manager's own procedures against him. A telephone call apparently proves the family is under control, forcing Fordyce to cooperate while maintaining a normal appearance before his staff. The suspense comes from watching authority reverse direction. The manager who treated people like replaceable parts must depend on those same people when the scheme collapses around him. Cushing's frightened performance gradually reveals the human being beneath the rigid suit. The story resembles a darker version of A Christmas Carol. Fordyce receives no ghosts, but one terrifying morning forces him to understand the value of loyalty, mercy, and relationships he had ignored. A large robbery often looks impressive on screen, yet this film creates pressure with desks, keys, account books, and polite voices. The criminal understands that a bank is protected by habits as much as locks. Once he controls the man who enforces those habits, the entire institution becomes vulnerable. The movie's small scale makes every movement visible. There is nowhere for Fordyce or the audience to escape. Number 7. The L-Shaped Room, 1962. A young French woman named Jane Fossé arrives at a shabby London boarding house carrying a secret that respectable society considers disgraceful. She is unmarried and pregnant, and the narrow L-shaped attic room she rents becomes both hiding place and temporary home. Leslie Caron plays Jane without asking for pity. She considers her choices, observes the people around her, and slowly forms connections with other residents who also live outside conventional respectability. Among them is Toby, a struggling writer whose confidence hides deep insecurity. Their romance grows through loneliness rather than fantasy. The boarding house is almost another character. Thin walls carry arguments, music, footsteps, and private pain from one room to another. A memorable Christmas gathering briefly transforms the building into a place of warmth. People whom society dismisses create their own family, even though jealousy and misunderstanding remain close beneath the celebration. Jane's pregnancy forces every relationship toward a decision. Toby wants intimacy but cannot fully accept the future she carries. Jane must determine whether love that depends on denial is truly love. The movie does not offer an easy rescue. Its power comes from watching a woman move from shame toward independence. The room begins as evidence of her isolation, but by the end, it represents a life she has chosen to face honestly. Many films of the period punished women for breaking social rules or hurried them into respectable marriages before the closing credits. This drama takes another path. Jane is neither a warning nor a helpless victim. She makes difficult decisions while the men around her reveal their limitations. The movie's anger remains quiet, appearing through rent payments, medical choices, and the simple question of where a woman can live without surrendering control. Number 6. Seance on a Wet Afternoon, 1964. Myra Savage believes the world has ignored her supernatural gift. She conducts seances in the darkened sitting room of the home she shares with Billy, her nervous and physically fragile husband. Rather than waiting for recognition, she develops a plan to manufacture it. Billy is ordered to take a wealthy family's young daughter and hide her in a room prepared inside the Savage home. Myra will then contact the police, claim to have received psychic information, and guide them toward the child. Fame will follow, and the public will finally respect her abilities. Kim Stanley plays Myra with such conviction that her behavior becomes more disturbing than a conventional villain's. She speaks of the plan as though it has been approved by a higher power. Richard Attenborough makes Billy frightened, loving, and morally weak. He understands the danger but has spent too long obeying her. The most gripping scene arrives during the public seance, when police and grieving parents wait for information. Myra's performance begins as calculated theater, but emotion, delusion, and memory merge until even she seems unsure where invention ends. The scheme starts collapsing when Myra decides that allowing the girl to return may expose the fraud. Billy must finally choose between obedience and protecting an innocent child. Rain presses against the windows, the house feels sealed from the world, and Myra's dream of recognition becomes a prison built inside her own mind. This is not a mystery about whether supernatural powers exist. It is about a person who needs belief so desperately that reality becomes an enemy. Myra transforms loss into authority and uses her absent child to control her husband. Billy's weakness is equally important. He tells himself that kindness and patience may contain her behavior, but silence only allows the plan to grow. The film understands that dangerous fantasies often require a quiet assistant. Number 5. The Small World of Sammy Lee, 1963. Time is running out before Sammy Lee has even finished his morning coffee. He works as the fast-talking master of ceremonies in a Soho strip club, but gambling debts have attracted two men who intend to collect their money by the end of the day. Anthony Newley turns Sammy into a blur of jokes, telephone calls, desperate promises, and half-finished schemes. He moves through cafes, back rooms, clubs, streets, and offices, trying to raise enough cash before the deadline. Every person knows him, but knowing Sammy usually means remembering money he already owes. The movie's Soho is not the glamorous playground sold in tourist images. It is crowded, restless, and transactional. Performers wait backstage, business owners calculate every favor, and friendship frequently comes with a price. Sammy's confident smile changes whenever he thinks nobody is watching. A memorable thread involves Patsy, a young woman who arrives expecting the future Sammy promised her. He wants to protect her from his world, yet he also uses dreams of escape to avoid admitting how trapped he has become. Their scenes reveal the sadness beneath his performance. The final confrontation refuses a clever rescue. After spending the day talking his way through every door, Sammy reaches the moment when language no longer protects him. The screen's darkness and the consequences waiting beyond it turn a lively city comedy into something far more painful. Modern viewers may notice similarities to later stories about frantic gamblers racing through cities, but Sammy is not driven by one enormous master plan. He survives through constant improvisation. That makes the movie feel dangerously alive. The camera follows him through a London that no longer exists, capturing streets and businesses while never becoming simple nostalgia. The city is exciting because it can offer anything, and frightening because everything has a price. Number 4. The Bedford Incident, 1965. A military destroyer discovers a Soviet submarine beneath the freezing waters near Greenland. Captain Eric Finlander treats the contact as an opportunity to prove his skill, while visiting journalist Ben Munsey watches the pursuit become increasingly personal. Richard Widmark plays Finlander as disciplined, intelligent, and terrifyingly certain. Sidney Poitier's Munsey asks the questions the crew has learned not to ask. Finlander insists that pressure prevents weakness. His officers obey because naval command depends on immediate response, even when the command itself may be pushing everyone toward catastrophe. The submarine remains mostly unseen. Radar screens, sonar reports, and shouted coordinates create the enemy inside the ship's operations room. The tension comes not from what the crew sees, but from how they interpret incomplete information. One exhausted officer is instructed to prepare weapons while Finlander continues tightening the trap. During the final confrontation, a misunderstood phrase results in a missile launch. The Soviet submarine responds before anyone can reverse the order. The closing image is brutally simple. There is no heroic correction, secret negotiation, or last-second rescue. Two military systems complete the actions for which they were designed. The movie ends in a flash that makes every earlier argument meaningless. This forgotten Cold War thriller does not claim that one side is uniquely monstrous. Its warning is more uncomfortable. Intelligent men, advanced machines, rigid procedure, and national pride can combine into a disaster nobody consciously chose. The captain is not presented as irrational. That is precisely why he is dangerous. He understands the rules, knows his vessel, and believes history rewards the person willing to move first. The crew's professionalism keeps the chase functioning, even after its purpose becomes questionable. By trapping the audience inside the chain of command, the film shows how responsibility can disappear between an order, an interpretation, and a button. Number 3. The Incident, 1967. 14 strangers enter a late-night New York subway car, carrying private worries, resentments, and unfinished arguments. Then two young troublemakers board the train and decide to turn the passengers into entertainment. Tony Musante and Martin Sheen play Joe and Artie, men who appear to have no larger plan. They test each passenger, looking for weakness and enjoying the silence of everyone who hopes someone else will intervene. Their behavior grows from mockery into physical intimidation, while the train continues moving through stations that offer no real escape. Before the confrontation, the film introduces the passengers individually: a soldier, an older couple, a young family, a teacher, a recovering patient, and others divided by class, race, age, and private disappointment. These details matter because the attackers use every division against them. One of the film's most painful sequences involves a passenger being humiliated while others stare downward. The violence is frightening, but the refusal to act becomes the larger accusation. Each person develops a reason to remain still. The eventual resistance comes from someone already physically vulnerable, exposing the emptiness of the stronger passenger's excuses. Even after the attackers are stopped, there is no comforting unity. The doors open, people leave, and the city continues. The subway car becomes a moving test of society. Everyone is close enough to help, yet isolation survives even when strangers are standing inches apart. The picture remains difficult because it offers no simple heroic viewpoint. The passengers are not equally cruel, but their hesitation gives cruelty room to operate. Some fear injury. Others fear embarrassment. A few privately approve when another person is targeted. The train creates temporary community without trust, turning public transportation into a laboratory where social manners collapse under pressure. Number 2. The Slender Thread, 1965. A ringing telephone connects two strangers during the longest night of their lives. Alan Newell is a college student volunteering at a Seattle crisis clinic. Inga Dyson is a deeply distressed woman who says she has taken a dangerous amount of medication and does not intend to be found. Sidney Poitier spends much of the film at a desk, using only his voice to keep Inga talking. Anne Bancroft appears through flashbacks that reveal the marriage, secrecy, and family pain behind her decision. The suspense depends on communication. Every silence may mean the connection has been lost. Meanwhile, police officers and telephone workers attempt to trace the call using the slow mechanical systems of the period. Switchboards, maps, timing, and fragments of background sound become investigative tools. Alan must listen for clues without making Inga feel interrogated. The most effective scenes avoid speeches. Poitier allows uncertainty to appear across his face while keeping his voice controlled. Bancroft moves between anger, exhaustion, humor, and detachment, making Inga feel like a person rather than a problem created for suspense. The title refers to the telephone line, but it also describes the fragile connection holding someone to the world. Alan cannot see Inga or physically reach her. All he can offer is attention, patience, and enough time for others to find the place from which she is calling. Director Sidney Pollack turns technological delay into emotional tension. The machines are slow, but the need at the other end of the line is immediate. Because the story deals with a mental health crisis, it could easily have become manipulative. Instead, the strongest sections focus on listening. Alan cannot fix years of pain through one perfect sentence. He makes mistakes, receives guidance, and keeps the conversation alive. The movie's technology now appears old, but its central idea has not aged. Being heard can create a small space between despair and irreversible action. Number 1. Mickey 1, 1965. A nightclub comedian runs from Detroit after becoming convinced that powerful people want him punished. He changes his identity, reaches Chicago, and becomes Mickey 1, a performer who fears every spotlight may expose him. Warren Beatty plays Mickey as charming, frightened, and increasingly uncertain whether the danger is real. He works in rough clubs, hides in cheap rooms, and studies strangers for signs of recognition. The audience receives little reliable information about the organization pursuing him. That absence turns the entire city into a possible trap. Director Arthur Penn combines crime drama with the visual freedom of the French New Wave. Streets appear fragmented, conversations arrive without complete explanations, jazz music follows Mickey like a second nervous system, a strange mechanical sculpture destroys itself in public, offering an image of performance ending in self-destruction. The most important scenes occur when Mickey returns to the stage. Comedy should give him control over an audience, yet every laugh sounds suspicious. A bright spotlight may be part of the show or the sightline of an unseen enemy. He continues performing because hiding has become another form of imprisonment. The movie never gives viewers the comfortable answer they expect. Mickey may be pursued by criminals, his own guilt, or a system so large it no longer needs to reveal itself. His fear is both personal and modern. He believes judgment is approaching, but nobody will tell him the charge. Its loose structure frustrated audiences expecting a clear gangster plot. Yet confusion is the experience the film is trying to create. Mickey cannot identify the boundary between caution and paranoia, so neither can we. The clubs, streets, and industrial spaces appear connected by emotional logic rather than geography. He is always traveling, but every new location feels like another room inside the same trap. The 1960s were never as safe or simple as nostalgia pretends. These films proved that horror could hide in a bank office, a suburban home, an open doorway, or even a brand new face. Which forgotten movie deserves a complete comeback? Share your choice below, like the video, and subscribe for more journeys into cinema history. Because the next lost masterpiece may already be waiting in a film vault, wondering why everyone forgot its name.